appreciate everybody coming out today. Getting through those the frigid temperatures out there to come sit in this presentation.
It's not in quotes.
I have to use air.
Actually cold
I have to
today.
use air quotes because I'm from the north, so it's not that cold. It's actually kind of refreshing. So appreciate everybody coming out. Thanks again, Kristen, and thank Ernest when he's here for giving us the opportunity to kind of talk to you guys today. So we are from Raw Murdy. If you're familiar with it, we're a marketing and advertising agency here on the peninsula. We'll get into a little bit more about us in a few minutes, but we're here to talk to you guys today about building and developing brands. Something we have done a lot of for our clients and the work that we do. And I'll take a minute, and I don't know how many of you already have looked at this title and tried to say that title to yourselves really quick 5 times, but go for it. Well, we thought it was a clever little play there on the title. So about Raw Murdy, we'll do some introductions before we get into the presentations, introductions of our team here, and a couple of minutes about Raw Murdy, and then we'll dive right in. So I am Len O'Neill. I'm Director of Digital Strategy at Raw Murdy. Oversee a lot of our website design and development, our digital marketing efforts, analytics and reporting, whole slew of things. Turn it over to the gang.
Sure. Kate Daughtry, I'm Creative Director, so work with building those brands, the executions, and everything in between.
Lauren Creel, Digital Marketing Strategist. I work on our paid search campaigns and any web analytics, reporting, stuff like that.
Oh, right, sorry. I'm Janisha. It's like, y'all are great. I'm a copywriter already, so I do the words for the people who still read the words.
So a little bit of Raw Murdy. Again, we're here in the peninsula. We're up on Morrison. We used to be on Bouffane for many, many years, but Raw Murdy has actually been here in Charleston for 40 plus years. And we are a full service marketing and advertising agency. Obviously, early years was a lot of traditional work and branding and design work, and now we are full service, cover everything from digital marketing to print, creative. Some of the team talked about what they do from copy to SEO, SEM, website design and development, all kinds of paid media, advertisement, PR, social. We do a lot of our work in kind of four core verticals. We step outside of those verticals once in a while, but we do a lot of work in travel and tourism industry, real estate, and home services, and also a lot of public involvement work. Do a lot of work with local governments here and also in the region. And I thought it'd be interesting, just we have culture up there, strategic creative, but since we're talking about brand development, I thought I'd just share a little bit more background about us. Just to give you a better idea of kind of who we are and what we're about, and it kind of plays into really part of our brand story. We have 5 core values that we always tell people that we're about, and they are, I have to remember all, be fearless, come hungry,
Have integrity.
have integrity, have fun, and care deeply. So have integrity, I think, speaks for itself. We're always pushing our employees to always make sure to do the right thing, regardless if it's a difficult decision to make sometimes, but keeping the focus on that. Be fearless. We want people to not be afraid of failure. Come take risks, take chances and stuff. That's how we're going to learn and grow and help our clients grow as well. Care deeply. We're all about making sure our employees create personal relationships both not only amongst ourselves but with our clients and even out in the community, and making sure we're doing good work out in the community. The other one, come hungry. Come to the office always prepared to take that extra step, look for new and better ways to do things, not only make us better as an agency, but to make our clients excel as well too. And then have fun. Why would you not? I think my colleagues here could definitely agree with me that we do that well at Raw Murdy. We like to have fun. I think that turns into a lot of the creative work that comes out of our team as well. So a little bit about us at Raw Murdy. Appreciate you indulging me on that for a couple minutes, but let's get into what we're here to talk about, which is creating brands. We're going to walk you through our agenda, which is talk a little bit about what we mean by creating brands. A lot of different ideas out there. What does brand mean? So we'll talk to that a little bit about, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about our process and how we kind of start off that process of creating brands, things that we look at and do. And then we're going to look at some good examples out there, both work we've done and other work out there in the wild that shows some really good impactful brands and impactful ways to tell your brand story. And then we're going to round it up with, how those brands kind of translate out into campaigns, out in, once you've got your brand and how that's getting out there in campaigns, but more importantly, how you're monitoring and tracking the effectiveness of those campaigns and your brand out there and how you can evolve it going forward. So with that, I will turn it over to Kate.
Great. Cool. Well, to get this started, and we're talking about brands, we should really kind of define what we're speaking to when we talk about or we use the word brand, because it's a term that's kind of tossed around quite a bit. And for us, a brand is really who you are in your prospect's mind. It's a feeling that we all have towards companies. So it's less of a tangible thing. It's not an object, it's not a computer. It's a perception. And, it really is what distinguishes you from your competition. So we all have different feelings or perceptions about different companies. That's really what their brand is to us individually. And here we have just some examples of work that we've done for our clients pretty recently. And, each of these different clients have their own brand. So we, keep it, we distinguish it from one another if they're in the same category, and then we push it farther if they're in separate categories all by themselves. But these are just some examples of brands that we've developed. And for us, brand development, it really starts with a key message. So these are the different kind of parts to brand development within Realmerdy. We work on key message, we work on the logo, obviously, the typefaces, colors, and then the imagery and words. And I think a lot of companies do a couple of these things really well, and we really aim to do all of these things really well and keep it consistent. And that's, what for us makes a powerful brand, is that consistent integrated approach and all of these items working together. So that's really the goal for creating a powerful brand for us.
Can I ask a question? What about leaders and employees' actions? Do you take that into consideration as well?
I think that all plays into it, but when we talk about like development of a brand, and we talk about kind of from a creative standpoint, which is really what we're going to be speaking to today, that's where these are the main items that we look at. So certainly company culture and all that works into a brand. So Len's going to speak to that key message, which is really that foundational piece.
Yeah, to Kate's point, basically, it all starts with that key message. It's really, at the heart of telling your brand story. And to better illustrate that, we want to walk through the process, but we're going to use an example of a client that we worked with recently and help them develop their brand. It's called Balsam Mountain Preserve. So they're a private community up in western North Carolina who not only, sells, it's an affluent area with, sells homes up there, but they're also introducing new products up there in terms of cottages, and they've got some new amenities that are coming on board. So we've been doing a lot of work with them to help develop their brand and get it out there, and it's all part of the marketing strategy and the campaigns that we're doing for them. So, but step one for us, any plan you're putting in place, anything you're trying to make a decision, come to a conclusion on, is all about the research. And we look at it from two different perspectives. It's really kind of the side of what's true and what matters. And on the what's true side, well, it's not all quantitative, but it's really, looking at the different data and information you have available to you to kind of really hone in on, make some conclusions, hone in on, what the product, the buyer segments are, what the product markets are, what the opportunities are out there. And then we look at it from a what's matter standpoint, which maybe, it's really just asking those right questions and trying to really get to the point of what matters to what those prospects are out there for your product and service. So looking at those specific to Balsam, there was a few things that we had at our hands for for understanding what's true. We did owner roundtables, and we also did a strategic market analysis, and we had the benefit of, they've been around for a while, and they had a good database of users and prospects they had gathered over time. They had a lot of good data into. So we were able to look at 3 different pieces that really helped us start formulating some of our ideas of what's true. With the owner roundtables, we spent a lot of time with some of the current owners out there, really kind of understanding, what, why they bought at Balsam Mountain Preserve, and also how they got to that conclusion to buy there. And they're also very good at giving us some insights into, maybe what some of the future needs were of that community, so that, more people would buy into that community and join them up there. So we looked at that. We also, like I said, did strategic market analysis, and from that, we're really able to kind of look at, okay, what are some of the product offerings up there, they have up there, and the amenities, and then tie that together with what's out there already, what other opportunities are out there in the market that might compete with them. And from there, we're able to kind of hone in a little bit more on the, the buyer segments and some of the product demands out there within their area of housing and real estate. And then, like I said, we had a database available to us that had a lot of information in it, and we were able to really extract from that a lot better idea of prospects and buyers, what was important to them, what was their geographic origin before they bought there, or even, if they hadn't bought there yet, what are some of their demographic information, what are even some of their motivations, what kind of products did they prefer, whether cottages versus houses, and even their motivations. There was a lot of good information we were able to pull that. So again, it's this idea of turning over every stone and trying to understand really what's true in terms of your audiences, what they're looking for, and what's out there already in the market, and provide a lot of good insight for us. And then the flip side of it, like I said, is what matters, and it really comes down to asking some of the right questions, and not only of current owners and prospects, but even questions we asked of ourselves once we kind of had that other side of the equation, had all that data in front of us, and we were able to kind of really define some things that gave us the ability to kind of think about some of these questions that we're asking. And this is just a sampling of some of the questions that we posed to a variety of groups, and like I said, in addition to ourselves. I'm not going to read all the questions and the answers, a lot of words up here, but I think it just gives you an idea of some of the things that we would ask, specifically this product for Balsam Mountain Preserve community. Who loves Balsam the most? What are they thinking and feeling when they are at Balsam and using its amenities? Again, really just trying from that emotional connection standpoint, which again, another one of the questions, what brand benefits makes an emotional connection with the prospects and distinguishes. So you kind of see where a lot of these questions are going, and again, the answers are up there in terms of what either we heard and condensing that into kind of a singular answer to each question. And then it really leads up to that defining question and answer at the end is, how do we define Balsam Mountain Preserve? And for us, and through all the research we did, it came down really to, it isn't a natural preserve within a community, but it's a community within a natural preserve. And we felt that really resonated with prospects, with owners, and even the management team up there. So we did all our research, turning over every stone, looking at all the data and information that was available to us, paired that together with asking the right questions, and then that really then led us into the key message and what comes from that. And I will turn it over to Jenna to show you how all that came together in terms of Balsam.
Thank you.
Awesome. So Lynn talked a little bit about what's true and what matters, and what we realize is if you have something that's true and it also matters to your target audience, but that's what all your competitors are saying, it doesn't matter. You're not going to stand out. You're going to blend right in. You're going to say the same things everyone else is already saying. So this is sort of some photography that shows sort of what we found out is true and what matters to Balsam. Their effort to preserve the community. This is their full-time naturalist that lives on site, working with children, leading programming. They have great amenities like a lot of their competitors do. They have horseback riding, they have a beautiful golf course, hiking trails. They're 45 minutes from Asheville, so that's a great location for people who want to be close enough to a big city. Great dining, but that's what everyone's saying. So we had to really figure out what's unique, what can Balsam uniquely own, and using the research, using insight, looking at the competitors, we were able to figure out what Balsam can do, say they're doing better than anyone else in the competitive set, is this commitment to preservation. They're one of the least dense communities, master plan communities in the entire country, much less in the North Carolina area. They have 4,400 acres, 75% of that will never be developed. It's completely set aside as a trust. They've got this naturalist, they have a program that's just about how to live with bears, because there's a lot of bears there. So they're like training people who move there on living with the bears. It's like one of the most successful bear human communities. No one's been mauled yet, so that's great. So that's like was the angle that they really could do differently and stand apart. So that's what we decided to focus on. And that's how we arrived at this key message, and the key message really becomes the cornerstone of that story, and it's something that you tell in every single execution you put out there, whether it's what you're posting on social media, how you're doing a print ad, what you're doing in a video, how you're writing a press release, what the website looks like, even down to the SEM words, the way we write those headlines. It comes across in every single aspect of Balsam's brand. So this was our key message, our cornerstone of that story for Balsam, which I'm going to read to you, even though I hate people who read things on slides, so just forgive me. Fresh mountain air, sprawling views, and undisturbed wildlife have a way of breaking through the everyday hustle and allowing us to focus on our most precious commodity, time. From serving as a steward of the land to creating an environment that fosters human connection, Balsam Mountain is the community that preserves what matters most. So you can see how we took something that's true, this commitment to the land, something that matters, that people wanting to connect with their family, connect with people they care about, to have that space and time to step away in this beautiful environment, and created a message that's unique that no one else is saying. And this is 2 examples of how that came to life in creative. So this is a full-page print ad that we did recently for Garden and Gun. You can see sort of our hero image there. We're leading with the beauty of this place and this space, but then also showing this connection across generations. And then in the bottom, we have sort of the table stakes here for Balsam Mountain Preserve. Oh, and we also have horseback riding. Oh, and we also have great fitness amenities. Oh, and we also have golf if that's important to you. That's here too. But this is the real deal. This is what's most important to us. And then we have a brand video we did recently that really helps bring that story to life.
Why do we come to Balsam Mountain Preserve? To invest in ourselves, to challenge ourselves, to feel the crisp air on our faces, to feel free, to wander, to gaze at the stars, to savor the moment. We come to Balsam Mountain because it helps us come alive.
So that's just sort of one example of how we use that research to drive the brand story, and then seeing how that brand story can come to life. And now Kate's going to walk through how some other brands have done that in really compelling ways.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go. Not working. There we go. Okay. So as Jenna was talking about with Balsam Mountain, they didn't just sell something, they stood for something, and that was preservation in nature, and that was resonating with people. It's not just about themselves, they're speaking to the environment and things like that. So we wanted to share just another example of someone who's doing an amazing job at that, and that is Serena Williams. So she actually just got top honors, I think, with Adweek this year. She was the brand genius of 2018, I think. I'm a huge fan, so I wanted to share this story with you. And, you know, I play tennis. I followed Serena for years, but was never, I wouldn't call myself, you know, a huge follower of hers. But recently she made news, I think it was probably about 1.5 to 2 years ago, where she won a Grand Slam while pregnant. So she was getting press for doing this, which is just like superhero status. So that was making news, while at the same time there's just kind of like negative news that we were all finding out as followers, that like she was basically going to lose her #1 ranking through taking off time for maternity leave. So she handled it just exceptionally well, and instead of focusing on the negative, she actually chose to focus on the story of motherhood and use that news coverage to not just focus about selling her tennis, but be open and vulnerable about being a mother. And what she was able to do is create this campaign around almost motherhood and the struggles that we all go through, and the positives of being a mom, and just really relate with her viewer. And in doing so, she created this Mama campaign, which is just taken off. I mean, it's been trending. It's just like, it's just so positive and so open. And you can see she's got over 10 million followers on Instagram. She has an HBO series, I don't know if anybody saw it, called Being Serena. It didn't just focus on her tennis, but it focused on her as a person, her and her husband. It shared, I mean, the birth of her child on TV. And as somebody who's always watched her, but maybe not followed her, and seeing this and her openness and being a new mom myself, I really just completely bought into her brand. And now it's like she can do no wrong, you know? So that's the take on, that's a powerful brand. And really, what comes from that is now she has a clothing line. She has multiple endorsements. They're not just tennis endorsements. They're endorsements like Chase Bank. And you can see, we're going to play you this commercial so you can see how she's doing that and blending both and sharing that her story.
rocking my peers, putting suckers in fear, making the tears rain down like a monsoon, explosions overpowering, over the competition, I'm towering. Listen to the bass go. Don't ever compare me to the rest. They'll all get sliced and diced. I'm gonna knock you out. Mama said knock you out.
So that's just like super powerful, you know, and any, you know, parent watching that is just like, hell yeah, you know, so it's cool that she's doing that, and, you know, she basically is just killing it at the brand game, so we'll see what she continues to do with it, but I feel like this is just the beginning. So that's an example of somebody selling and not, you know, sharing her story and not just selling. Another way to have a powerful brand is, you know, have some energy, do the unexpected. And what we want to do for this one is just share with you a little case study that for one of our clients, which is Terminix. And they're in the pest control category. So that category is basically, you don't really want to think about it until you have a problem type of category. So it's not a super high energy category. But we have a lot of fun with it. And so the client came to us and said, you know, we want a new form of customer testimonial. We've all seen the testimonials that start with two people sitting in a room, and then all of a sudden we just black out and we change the channel, or, you know, turn it off because we don't want to, we're not interested, it's not entertaining. So, you know, this new form of testimonial, we wanted to stay true to the Terminix story and not just be entertaining to be entertaining, but also like speak to their key message, which is all about their service professional, which they refer to key men and key women. And so they're the hero of the brand. They're the one interacting with the customer on a daily basis. And so that when the customer thinks of Terminix, a lot of it is because the Terminix brand, a lot of it is because of that key men or key women. So we're going to share with you what we ended up doing for we called it customer stories, not testimonials.
So I'm doing my laundry one day, and you'll never believe
It's a true story.
what I found. A dead rat. Yes, a rat in my washing machine. And I am freaking out. I called Terminix right away. When Stephanie got there, I was in full crazy mode. She took care of the rat and calmed me down. Lo and behold, there was a small gap in our foundation. This little guy had been coming in and out for a while, but not anymore. Stephanie sealed the gap and took care of the other holes. I signed a contract with those guys right there on the spot. I mean, if they can handle a rat in a washer, everything else is easy. I'm Emily, and that's my Terminix story.
Cool. So yeah, I mean, when we started this, it was just this idea that kept growing and growing, and now we have about 15 customer stories that we've told in the same format. But they're entertaining, they're engaging, and a little bit different than what you're expecting to see for the pest control category. So the next kind of way that we're thinking, you know, we want to share with y'all about being fearless and taking some risks. I think a lot of times brands and companies try to stay really safe. They're afraid of kind of stepping out of their box, and they're afraid that, you know, one person's not going to like what they put out there. But we're saying, you know, take some risks to be powerful. And this next client it's not our client, I wish it was our client. The campaign we want to walk you through is the Opt Outside campaign for REI. And it's really relevant right now because we're coming up on Black Friday and Thanksgiving. And I don't know if any of you have already started getting Black Friday emails, but like I got an email yesterday saying that Black Friday started yesterday, which wasn't even, if it was at least today and it was a Friday, but it started yesterday, so it's really confusing. So about 4 years ago, REI started this Opt Outside campaign, and they were just like looking at the research and seeing that people were not getting outdoors. And so they kind of said, what could we do? We're going to make a bold move, take some risks, and they're going to basically live out their company values by being an anti-Black Friday campaign. And they're going to close 153 stores and not even take online payments on Thanksgiving and Black Friday. Yeah, so that's a pretty bold move that, they could have either been upset about at the end of the day, but it turns out, 1 year after the campaign launched in 2015, they reported a 23% uptick in digital sales. 1.4 million people got outside and posted on the opt outside hashtag. So clearly it paid off. It's in its 4th year, and it's now expected by consumers. So they're like, there's no way we can do away with this at this point. It's just taken on a life of its own. So now there's also like 700 organizations getting involved in the movement. And I saw an article recently about how they're donating millions of dollars to outdoor research and how that improves our well-being and our health and things like that. So it's just really grown from this one campaign idea to really just being a huge part of their brand. So there's no going back from there, and it's so positive and really lives out their key message and their values. So it's an amazing campaign.
Okay, so once your brand is out in the wild, obviously it's not something you can just set it and forget it. It's really important to monitor those campaigns that make up your brand, and keep track of the way people are interacting with it, the way they're responding to it, whether it be through social media, paid search, organic, digital, print. It's just really important to monitor the kind of effect that your brand is having. So one of the key things that we start out with is identifying the goals of our campaigns that make up our brand. So a few examples of some goals: brand awareness, really getting your ads and ad elements in front of users, getting them familiar with the look and the feel of the brand, and just really striving to gain those impressions. Another example of a goal is website traffic, so driving people to your website, specific landing pages that are important to you, or even taking it one step further into website actions. So getting someone to fill out a form or make a phone call, download a PDF, whatever is important to your business. It's really important to identify those goals in the beginning so we can measure our campaigns and see the success of them and their effectiveness. So after that, that's when we can kind of get into the tracking. And when it comes to tracking our digital campaigns, one of the key things we do is add UTMs to our ad elements. So anything that's linking back to our website. And UTMs are little snippets of code that you add to the end of a URL. And these tell Google Analytics the source, the medium, and the campaign that traffic is coming from. So this is obviously really important because we can tie certain campaigns back to those original goals that you're identifying, and really attributing that traffic with the specific campaign. And then obviously when it comes to tracking print and other physical mediums that aren't on the web, it's a little bit trickier because we can't put a tracking code on those. But we do see correlations with organic and direct traffic from print items. So for example, if you see an ad in a print magazine and it's something you're interested in, typically you would go to Google and do a search for it, or maybe even directly type in the advertised website into your browser. So these categories fall into organic and direct traffic. So it's really important to look at when you see your organic and direct traffic increasing or decreasing to see if you have any media that could be correlating with this. And continually enhancing. So once our campaigns have been running through it for a few months, we always get together as a team and really do a deep dive on the numbers. We look at all of our marketing tools, Google Analytics, Facebook Business Insights, any email marketing services that can offer us some data. We really deep dive into those numbers and kind of look at everything as a whole and see which campaign elements are the most successful. So some of the things we look at: photography, colors, typography, the message and call to action, really trying to identify what's performing better across the campaigns. So another thing that we look at is analyzing the audience that's interacting with our campaigns. So this is really important when it comes to improving our ads and ad elements because we want to cater to this audience that's taking our desired actions. So looking into their demographics, geography, what device they're coming from, interests and other website behavior, this is all really important when it comes to improving our ads and our brands and our campaign that make up our brand. And once we kind of narrow down some key findings and insights, this allows us to set up some plans for future A/B testing and just continuing to optimize and test those top performing elements so we can always strive for that optimal performance. So this is just a glimpse into some of the ways we analyze the campaigns that make up our brand, but ultimately being able to monitor and track that information is so important when it comes to improving your overall brand and continuing to evolve.
And that's all we have. I hope that was insightful. Shared some good ideas in terms of brand development. Again, all the way from the research at the beginning to how you start formulating that key message of your brand, and then starting to get it out there in ways that you can share it in your campaign. And again, making sure you're evolving it, keeping track of it, and evolving it. Making sure it continues to be effective out there in the wild, as we say. So again, appreciate everybody coming, and we're here for questions.
All right. Len, I appreciate you bringing the Royal Murray team.
Thank
I'm
you,
sorry,
Ernest.
I actually had to speak up at Charleston Southern this morning, the Board of Vistas. And I was cringing as I was driving to my event, looking at the traffic on the other side coming into town. So the first question I asked nervously is like, is it going to be that bad at 9 when I've got to head back? And they're like, probably. So I get in traffic, and before I even leave CSU campus, the car in front of me breaks down. This is a bad omen. And then I get on 26, and there's another car broken down. And then I get to Cosgrove, and there's a third car broken down. And I'm thinking to myself, there's no reason for this. This is an absolutely gorgeous day. And it should all be perfect and everything else. But I appreciate Kristen jumping in and getting you guys started. For most of you guys who don't know, basically, Royal Murray basically built the city's brand. I mean, it started with a relationship tied to the waterfront, tied most recently to Gilliard. So they've had a long-standing relationship, basically, with the city of Charleston and built the sophistication. It doesn't just happen. And I mean, I guess when David was there, basically, and now basically the firm, it was that relationship of just continuously tending to. So what I think basically of, folks like Royal Murray's, these are guys who have to they have to understand your vision and then kind of start to execute on your behalf. Very, very important role. So I was able to pivot off some of the things that they had done in building this great place. I mean, I remember when Joe Riley was working on Waterfront Park, and then the aquarium, and then most recently the Gilliard, and their hand was in it, basically. Most people didn't know that, basically, most recently. But that's super important, basically, and having some continuity in the vision forward and that kind of thing. So that's kind of what, I'm looking forward to basically Mike's, video. It's that continuity, it's that, that sort of tenaciousness, and understanding basically where we are, but not trying to be the flavor of the month. I appreciate you coming out. So this is interesting. We've been doing this 2008, and we'll be in the new building. We don't do a presentation in December. So we'll be in our interim location on Meeting in Mary, basically next month, in January. And then basically, actually, I've got to jump back into meeting with attorneys, talking about a new building on Morrison. So appreciate all you guys coming out. Next, in January when you come, it'll be a different environment, basically be enhanced over where we are. 10 years of a great run. We've had, I think we average basically, 20 people in all these sessions. So about 300 people for the year, because some have been, and we're looking at doing things a little differently, a little deeper dive on some of these things that you might be interested in, between technical and business. We've talked about doing it, but just, we're up to here. But we'll sort of bring some of that back. We're thinking about doing some evening events. But the one question I wanted to ask, and I asked Kristen this, she said there was a sense that people actually like doing it at 9 or 9:30 rather than 8:30. Is that the consensus basically from the group, that it's okay to push it out? Instead of 8:30 where everybody's struggling to get into more of a 9 or 9:30. What is, we put out a survey basically, and nobody wanted to do it in the evening. So they wanted to do it basically in the morning. But I'm just curious, from a show of hands, who would prefer a 9 or 9:30 versus 8:30? Okay.
Also try.
Yeah.
Either later or earlier, because that way you're not sitting
Yeah.
in traffic.
So I think what we'll do among other things, the first thing we'll do is move it to 9:30, and I think again I don't want to give away how we'll change things, because y'all can come back. Number one, number two, I think it's very important. Really appreciate. We're going to do more panel discussions. We're going to do more team conversations like this rather than a one-person delivery. I think that's helpful. So any thoughts that you have, y'all are responding to Fridays at Charleston Digital Quarter to come in, just send to Fridays basically. It could be random. But Kristen will take those and share them. This should be a reflection of what you guys want, not what we want. And it has been. So there's some changes to make. Let's go ahead and make them, while we, go to the next venue and go from there. Appreciate you coming out. Thank you.
Appreciate that.
And this presentation is online on Monday, the video and the PowerPoint as well.
Thank you.
Great job, guys.